Morning guys, it's Tony D here from Life Masters. It's just after 6 in the morning. It's 6 degrees outside. It's still dark. I'm on my way to go and get my Pathfinder V9X 3-litre engine
Turn left on Leslie Avenue West.
Re-engineered, the ECU map redone rather than the chip. I found an expert that is doing it. I'm driving to Joburg South and I'm all excited to see what we're going to get from this project. So stay tuned and I'll let you know what's going to happen. So as I wait in the traffic here, I'll just tell you a little bit about it. I've checked around the web to see who's who in the zoo. Because I decided that I wanted to do this after driving with my fishing club. Two of my guys had put chips in their vehicles, in their Toyotas. I thought I need to see what I can do on my vehicle because they've got improved performance and improved fuel economy. So I found an expert called Veloce Performance. I think it's plug-and-play-chip.co.za. I'll put the information for you up on the screen here. But I spoke to a few guys and I found this expert and he said, don't go for the chip, rather do the ECU mapping because it's safer, they can do it more specifically, and in fact is cheaper than using the old stuff, than just putting a plug and play chip. So the chip is if you want to put it in and take it out, whereas my ECU remapping, it's a permanent thing unless you go and get it remapped again. So I have no problem. I want it in, I want it kept in. I don't have to change it for when I take my car for a servicing or not. So I'm all excited to get my beast made into a super beast. So already the V9X is a fairly powerful machine, 170 kilowatt, 550 Newton meters. But we're looking at an improvement on that by anything between 10 to 20%. So watch the space and I'll take you through my excitement and what happens through the day. Stand by. Here we go. Car coming onto the dyno. Ready for some extra beast power on my Nissan Pathfinder V9X with Adriaan, the performance wizard. Because my vehicle's a 4x4, we've had to extend the dyno to do front wheels and back wheels. So it's taken us a bit of time just to stretch the dyno out so that the 4x4 process can work together. Next step, let the boost begin. So basically what Adriaan's doing now is he's taken a copy of the ECU map and he's going to be editing it to improve the different aspects of performance based on his 12 or 14 years experience, and then that will get written back to the ECU on the car. But we'll tell you a bit more about that. I'll let him tell you about the specifics of that. But as you can see, he's got all the fancy equipment, and from what I can see, he seems to be the wizard in this business. You can see there now, we did our first run, showing 151, which is down a little bit from the normal, and 460 Newton. So we're now going to do some tweaking and see what happens next. We'll be back with you soon. So now we know my car's baseline is 150 kilowatt on the wheels, which is apparently very lacquer. Now the magic begins. This is where the wizardry goes well beyond putting a plug and play chip, and that's why years and years and years of magic happens. And I was very fortunate to find Adriaan, because he's a super specialist that hides away. But if you're serious about the performance in your vehicle and you want to make sure that it gets done by a professional and an expert and not some plug and play jockey, this is the guy that you need to be speaking to. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next with the magic that's going to happen around here. So stay tuned and we'll show you the next part of the process. So what's happening now is Adriaan's doing a backup of the critical files that the car comes standard with, and then he's going to write the new optimized ECU map into the system, and then we'll do the test and see what the differences are. And this is the difference between Adriaan and these other plug and play jockeys, is he customizes every single vehicle, takes him nearly a day, but he uniquely customizes every one relevant and relative to the car, specifically in front of him. So it's not just a put on a chippy and walk away. This is serious engineering skill, expertise to make sure your car gets the best setup, best instruction. You can see a bit of writing there as the little map gets written back to the car's electronic control unit. Stay tuned and we'll see the difference. Okay, so there we've done some magical adjustments and gone from 151 on the wheels to 193 on the wheels, and from about, I think it was 450 Newton to 550 Newton on the wheels. That's like nearly a 20, what's that? It's 28% odd, nearly 30% improvement in the beast.
And about 20% in newtons.
That's serious wizardry right there. Okay, so there you have our final run from 151. We've now got 191 on the wheels, and from 450 to 552 on the wheels. And that's the magic of this young man here. The wizardry that he brings way beyond plug and play chip chappy to being a wizard and a specialist. And we're going to chat to him about why it's better to do an ECU map than a chip. So stand by as we just unwind and unhook and bring our excitement down to normal level. Okay, so as you can see on the board, we've gone from 151 to 191, which makes me really, really excited. And I'm standing here with Adri, who's the wizard that does this. How's it, Adri?
Fine, thanks.
Introduce yourself so we know a bit about you.
I'm Adriaan from Veloce Performance. I've been in the business for 12 years. I quite like what I do. And
so when I spoke to you after hunting down all the other chip and plug and play jockeys on the web, you said ECU map is better. Why?
The reason is most of the chips, Tony, out there will simply increase common rail pressure.
What's that in English?
Now, what it basically means, it will just up the fuel pressure. So basically the chip will just fool the ECU into thinking that more fuel needs to be put into the cylinders. That on the end of the day, your injectors needs to take all of that additional pressure from the diesel pump. And also you might stand a chance, because only fueling is increased, the engine might burn some holes in the pistons and stuff like that. So it's quite dangerous on the end of the day. It's a bad way of tuning. There's no other way of saying it. Why ECU remapping is better is like when a manufacturer designed a map for that specific engine. I go take all of that and I do an optimized version of that. So injection quantity, turbo boost, boost limiter, torque limiters, driver's wish maps, everything gets optimized a little bit, and not in big percentages, in small amounts to make quite a large difference, but which is most importantly still safe.
So in 12 years, your wisdom is mapping is safer,
without a doubt,
more effective,
without a doubt,
better on the engine,
for sure.
And also you said to me it's cheaper.
Yes, most of the time it's cheaper. You can spend up to 10,000 Rand or even more on a chip, where the average price here at Veloce Performance prices normally range from about 3.5 to 5.5, depending on the car and obviously the time needed to complete the work. So yes, in most of the cases it's much cheaper than a chip, and without a doubt ECU remapping is the better way to go. All of the parameters gets looked at, the AFR, so in other words the air fuel ratios and everything stays intact. So basically I do what the manufacturers do, just an optimized version of that.
So the wisdom is, don't go to the backyard mechanic and put a cheap plug and play chip. Come to somebody like you who's a master at this process and do it right. You spent 500, 600, 700 grand on a car, invest the 3, 4, 5 grand and do it right.
Absolutely, I agree with it. There's just one way to do it, that's the right way, and that's ECU remapping. Don't get me wrong, there's some of the chips that does work well on some vehicles, very well. In terms of power, when you put the car on a dyno, you will see lots of power when you install that chip, but it's still not the right way. It will, at some point in time, it will damage the engine without a doubt.
Okay, well, I'm very excited. As you can see, the scores that I've got from mine, I'm excited to get on the road. Thank you very, very much. And I look forward to enjoying your magic and wizardry that you've imparted into my beast into beast mode plus now. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Tony. Thank you. Tony, just one last thing that I want to make clear is that a lot of people goes for the plug and play system because it's so easy to install, and they think, you know, it's a quick thing, and so quick thing, put it in your car, there you have more power. The fact of the matter is that 99% of those chips, especially on the modern cars, won't work, and the reason why people get away selling them is because all of these, or most of these guys, don't even have a dyno to prove the figures. So what happens is the chip gets connected in, the guy goes for a test drive, and he doesn't know what power is.
He believes that it's improved.
He believes it's improved, but in reality, if you put the car on a dyno, you'll see almost no difference. And I've spent a lot of time removing chips from cars. And well, what I do is when the car comes in, we do a dyno run, then we remove the chip, we do a dyno run standard, and most of the time you'll see very small differences like 1 or 2 or 3 kilowatts and maybe 10, 20 or 30 Newton meters of torque. So, and then the guy end up spending 8 grand in the specific scenario that I remember now. So we remove the chip, we do proper ECU remapping. In the specific scenario I remember, we added him 30 kilowatts and 100 Newton meters of torque. It cost him, I think, 4,000 Rand. So half the price of the chip, and it actually works.
And you can prove it.
And I can prove it. That's why most of these companies get away with it. It's not that they don't have money to buy a dyno, they do, because they make quite a few sales. And the reason why they don't buy a dyno is because they have to prove the results. Once it gets to that point, they will almost sell no chip at all.
So be smart.
Be smart.
Okay, so we finished doing the tune on the car. I've just left Adriaan's place here in Herriotdale, and I'm about to get onto the highway, but already I can feel the difference that this this guy's magic is made on my ECU tuning program. Yeah, please, here we go. This is, thank you, Adriaan. This is the most incredible. I can feel a huge amount of difference in the performance and responsiveness in this V9X. Yeah, so we're up nearly 30% in performance improvement. I'm sure that the fuel consumption will eventually calm down when I calm down, but having this kind of power in my chorry right now, I'm chuffed. You can't get more chuffed than I am right now. So Adriaan, thank you from Plug and Play Chip, Veloce Performance. He really knows his stuff. I'm going to put this camera down. I need 2 hands to cope with where I'm about to go. Ciao, see you guys later. Bye. Here we go, beast mode.